My name's Kimberly Greeter, and I'm with Iowa State University, Department of Human Development and Family Studies, and also with Extension. And Rosa, you want to
Yes, my name is Rosa Gonzalez, and I am a human science specialist in family well-being, serving a certain part of the state.
So today we want to share with you a project that we've developed in Iowa called Salir Adelante. And Rosa, you can say it in Spanish, the next part of Pathways for a Future.
Okay, Salir Adelante, Caminos a Nuestro Futuro.
So welcome, we're glad you're here. And little by little, we hope you fill up your cup today.
Bienvenidos, nos alegra que estén aquí y de poquito en poquito se llena el jarrito. You may notice that we use this expression like little by little you will fill up the cup, and that's what we are going to do today. We are going to gather to fill up our cup as we learn about Salir Adelante, a program developed with and for Latino families to foster career and college readiness. When we use this, it's like we're gonna be learning, and through the program, we share different of these dichos just to make it meaningful for Latino families.
So Salir Adelante, in Spanish, the closest meaning would be to persevere, to move forward. And so there's no direct translation to it. And the way we gained the title is we did a series of focus groups with Latino fathers and mothers and youth over a couple of years in Iowa. And then also we offered a previous program called Juntos, which was out of North Carolina State. And from working with that program and additional research with families and with the literature, one of the words or phrases that families kept saying during the interviews was Salir Adelante. And so that's why we decided to title the name of this program Salir Adelante, because it clearly resonates with the idea of persevering, moving forward. It represents aspirations that many of the families have. And it also renders the inner strength of the Latino community for working towards goals and happiness and well-being and taking advantage of opportunities against odds or adversity that they may experience. So to help you learn a little bit more about Salir Adelante, we are going to show you a video. And so I'm going to move this screen over here, and hopefully I will get all of this, my mouse. Okay, I think I'm going to stop share and reshare so that I can get yep, there we go. That should work. Okay.
Salir adelante means to get ahead, not necessarily ahead of everybody else, but to get ahead for yourself and to really make sure you take advantage of all your opportunities and to fulfill your potential to the max. Salir adelante is set up as a 6-week workshop series. We bring families in, students, youth, and their parents. We split them up initially, youth work together, parents work together, and then we bring them back at the end for a family session. Each week, we explore a new topic as it relates to the education system and post-secondary, exploring financial resources, exploring financial aid, exploring resources within the community, scholarships, and really breaking that down into digestible pieces that everyone in the family can understand in order to be on the same page and try to accomplish their goals.
Pues estar así más conectado con la familia, a poder hablar así con la familia pues de cosas que han pasado en tu vida, o pues más así estar más conectados uno al otro, más juntos.
Como padre, lo más principal es conocer mejor a mi hijo. Eso queremos para él, que no nos vea como nosotros vimos a los padres como enemigos. No somos así. Queremos lo mejor para él. Y salir adelante lo va a ayudar a él a salir adelante.
Lo más importante para mí del programa es todo lo que abarca el programa y todo lo que viene después del programa. Todos los programas que están abiertos para nosotros como padres.
A lot of the times as a community, a lot of us slip through the cracks because we don't have the adequate resources or simply someone around who might know what it means to file a FAFSA or how to apply for college. That's really the encompassing aspect of the program and what we aim to do here, making sure that no kid is getting left behind and that every family has all the resources and information so that they can salir adelante.
Pues mi sueño es de que apoyar a mi hijo Miguel, pues para que él cumpla sus sueños. Y si él quiere, pues sí, puede salir adelante echándole ganas.
Tal vez fue algo frustrante para la mamá del video. A lot of us share a story in which our families, our parents sacrifice a lot just to give us an opportunity. And Salir Adelante really just encompasses the fact that you need this material, you need this information, you need this knowledge, you need these resources in order to do so, in order to salir adelante. Our programming does that. It starts off at a base level where both parents and students can understand and hopefully fulfill their dreams as a family.
Okay. Now I'm going to go back to sorry. There we go. So when you, after listening to the video, what resonates for you? What Salir Adelante is about? Share words that come to your mind or type in the chat phrases as you thought about Salir Adelante.
Hi, good morning. My name is Judith Hernandez, and I'm from Union County, North Carolina. I'm the FCS agent here, but what resonated with me was when they mentioned not knowing how to fill out a FAFSA. That's something that I went through when I was applying to school. So I think it's great that parents are given that opportunity to learn that skill, and instead of it being a challenge, it's more of a bonding opportunity.
Okay, family resources, reaching dreams. What else did you observe? Okay, family support. When you watch the youth and the adults and things they said, what else do you pick out from it? Like, what are some of the, how would you describe it just from what you could capture in the video?
And Muriel mentioned that so needful that parents are involved with the children, that because that doesn't happen enough. Then that's great.
Okay, great. So I'm going to share that, go back to the slideshow here.
And Jill also mentioned families working like a team for the child's future. And Margaret, a sense of pride and self-empowerment.
Great. And that clearly is what the flavor of what we're doing in Salir Adelante and the aim of how the program was designed. So as you can see on the slide, it's overarching, trying to assist families in gaining knowledge, skills, and connections to pursue the paths to college and careers. And it isn't just focused on college, careers. So looking at beyond high school, what are goals and dreams? And it may be trade schools, it may be the military, helping in interests and needs of kids or of youth. And so the outcomes, when we look at the long-term outcomes of helping youth complete high school, participate in post-secondary education, and be prepared for careers, there's several different factors that relate to that. So the medium-term outcomes, youth academic performance, clearly how youth do in school relates to, do they graduate from high school? do they position themselves that they can go on to further training or college? And before that, some of the key factors that are linked to youth academic success happen with the family, such as educational aspirations and expectations. So how much education does a youth want for themselves or hope for themselves? And the same thing with parents, our hopes and dreams for our kids, but then the reality of what do we expect? Like we might want our child to go to college, but do we really expect them to? So one of the things we try to do in Salir Adelante through providing intentional time where families come together and we cover a variety of topics. We do a lot of interactive activities where we strengthen parent-child bonds. They strengthen bonds with other families they may not know, but also other professionals in the community who help to facilitate the series, that by the end of the series, the hope is that their hopes and their expectations, the gap gets closer. So if they aspired to go to college, but they really didn't expect they could, that by the end of the workshop series, 6 weeks, 7 weeks later, the aim is that now they believe maybe it's actually possible. And also linked to academic achievement is youth social competencies. So 3 of them in particular, decision-making, problem-solving, critical thinking, and goal setting, actually 4, are some of the competencies that research will link to academic performance, and then also parent educational involvement in their children's learning and family communication. So these particular outcomes, as we design the curriculum, we have activities that intentionally work towards those goals, and then we do measure them. The other aspect of evaluation that we'll be doing with the program later this spring to document the broader impacts of Salir Adelante and the work in the community is we'll be doing a process called ripple effects mapping. And it's a qualitative method with program evaluation where you combine appreciative inquiry and mind mapping. And we're really going to be looking at examining the internal partnerships within Extension, as well as our external partnerships with community partners that's helping to grow and sustain Salir Adelante, as well as additional actions that youth, parents, Extension staff, or their partners say that they've taken as a result of being involved in Salir Adelante. And then earlier, when I just mentioned the parent involvement, family communication with program evaluation we've done to date, would be over 250 responses from youth and parents who've completed the program in different communities in Iowa. We've seen significant improvement in all those dimensions. So we see that from a survey perspective, the program's working. Parents and kids tell us what they're doing, or if they're applying for a scholarship, are they now being engaged in other activities in the community, or the parent now is starting to work on their GD. We're learning those kinds of things already, but through the ripple effects mapping, we're going to also be able to look at what are some of the unintended outcomes that we would never even weren't planning on reaching, but they might be making a difference for families in the community. So another aspect of Salir Adelante is when it was developed, we intentionally tailored it culturally. And Rosa mentioned it was with and for Latino families. And so we really tried to learn from families and engage them in the process so we could develop a program that was culturally relevant for them, their interests, and builds upon their goals. And so Rosa's going to engage you in one of the activities that we do. We do lots, but this is one.
Yeah, this is one, right? Then it's like for feeling comfortable about participating in any program, I think resonate with the type of activities that we do, it's key and important. Then we try to adapt and implement some of the things that are very related to the Latino culture. One of these ones, it's called Loteria. Loteria can be similar to what bingo is, but it's just a bunch of cards with different pictures, and you just calling the pictures. You put your bean or whatever, and who will have all the cards is the winner, right? Very simple. Well, we use the concept of the loteria just by asking parents, and this is what I'm gonna ask to you. From this card that you see on your screen, try to choose one of the pictures to share about your school experience with your child right here in the United States. For example, I will say, I will choose the letter. The letter is, it helps me to go step by step to, at the end, reach the goal that I have for my child. Then if you can pick one of the pictures and compare, or why you choose, and tell me why you choose the picture related to your experience with your child in school, what can you tell me? You can put it in the chat. If you can open your mic, we just want to hear a few.
Do you want to repeat the question, Rosa?
Sure. From the card that you have in front of you, if you can choose a picture that represents your experience with the school or with your children's school, and tell me how you choose that picture or why.
Well, I can go first. I'm Giovanni Donaldson, and I'm with the Yavapai County Cooperative Extension in Arizona. And I think I can relate to the hand if I'm reading listening to the instructions, because I was always advocating for my daughter, and coming from first gen as far as us being Hispanic, and I wanted to make sure that my daughter had everything available she could have. And I was always the one raising my hand, whether it was in the classroom, whether it was going on field trips. And I just wanted to make sure that, my hand was there, not just for me, but for other families too, to provide maybe the same questions I had. So I never feared that. So for me, that was the open hand for me, to be able to ask as many questions as I could. And again, just seeking that future for my daughter.
Well, thank you so much. Yeah, that is great, right? It's about having the resources that you need, but also to be able to ask for those resources, or just to ask questions to learn about this, right? Many of the things that parents share, or that they are very grateful at the end, is to be able to have access to all this information and resources that they were not aware, especially if you work with parents who have kids that is the first time that the first child is going to attend post-secondary education, right? Then great, thank you. Let's see, I think we have a few comments. El paraguas, because sometimes the child needs to be protected from the rain, either by parents or the school. The umbrella, it's either special help or providing additional resources to ensure their success in school. Great. Sarah also choose la mano, the hand. I see this as a raising my hand to ask questions. I feel like I'm always asking questions of my son and his school to learn more about his school and his classes. And Muriel picked the heart, el corazón. I want my son to have a different experience than I did financially. So he and I put our whole heart into making his high school and college experience as debt-free as possible, right? All about La Sirena, Melanie, the mermaid. How can we serve all our community members and attract and engage them in culturally relevant programming? Umbrella, like Jill say, because we try to provide the protection and help, but it was ultimately up to our daughter whether or how she will use our advice and support. Excellent. Well, that is one of the activities. Parents become really creative, and they also, it's a way to start thinking about, really, is this experience something positive to me, or what are the things that maybe I need to do to improve my relationship with the school, with my child, for them to have the best experience ever, right? You work with a lot of immigrants that maybe the school experience back was nothing similar of what they are experiencing right now, right? Then it's like how you can start thinking intentionally about your own experience dealing with school and education in the United States. Okay, great. Then thank you for participating. Another piece that we want to share with you today, it's a video that in Latin America, we love telenovelas. We learn, and you know, I think the drama, but also the love and all those things that are shared through telenovelas. And if you think about sometimes visual learners, right? Telenovelas are great. Then we find a very good one that it's an educational telenovela, but that really have a good impact on a mom and a daughter trying to be in the same page and understand what are the daughter's goals, what at the end are mom's goals, and how they can work towards reaching out or reach out those goals as well. Then hope you have fun watching this, and we will discuss after.
Y squared minus 9 equals 5y minus 3, 5y plus 3, 49a squared minus 16, 7a minus 4, 7.
Ya apagué esa luz y vete a dormir.
Estoy estudiando para un examen.
Ay, es tarde, hija. La noche es para dormir. ¿Y esos trastes? No, muchacha. Estás descuidando tus quehaceres. No me gusta que los trastes se queden así toda la noche. ¿Qué esperanzas que yo a tu edad descuidara los quehaceres?
Ya me cansé, ya no puedo hacer esto.
Pues ya déjalo y vete a dormir.
Mamá, no puedo. Tengo que terminar esto.
¿Y por qué?
Porque esta clase es muy importante. Me afectará mi GPA. Y tengo que tener un GPA arriba de 2.0 para que sea elegible para ayuda financiera.
¿Qué es un GPA?
Es el promedio de todas mis calificaciones.
No te preocupes.
Y necesito esta clase por si un día me decido transferirme a la universidad.
¿Pues qué no estás en la universidad?
No, mamá, estoy en el Community College.
¿En el qué?
En el colegio comunitario.
¿Y la universidad dónde está?
Pues hay muchas por todos los Estados Unidos.
¿Y a poco te quieres ir lejos?
No lo he pensado.
¿Ya nos piensas abandonar?
No, no sé, mira, ahorita quiero concentrarme en esta clase.
¿Y por qué te tienes que ir a la universidad?
Mira, mamá, es que en el Community College voy a terminar mi asociado y las universidades ofrecen títulos avanzados. Los estudios son como una pirámide y en esta pirámide hay diferentes niveles y estos niveles representarán títulos. El primer nivel o la base de la pirámide es un asociado y es en el cual yo estoy trabajando. El próximo nivel es una licenciatura. El tercer nivel es una maestría. Y por último, la punta de la pirámide es un doctorado.
¿Como un doctor de medicina?
No, bueno, sí, pero hay diferentes tipos de doctores. Hay doctorados en filosofía, en educación, incluso un abogado es considerado un doctor.
¿De veras?
Sí, en el Community College ofrecen títulos de asociado. Las universidades ofrecen títulos avanzados.
¿Vas a llegar hasta aquí? ¿A poco vas a ser doctora?
Mamá, ahora estoy concentrándome en mi examen de matemáticas.
¿Ya comiste?
No.
Pues ahorita te preparo algo. Usted sigue estudiando, hija. Échele ganas.
Gracias, ma.
Okay, so Rosa, do you want to help process some of
Yes,
the
yes. Well,
material?
some of the questions that we are trying to do for reflect on this is, of course, looking at the point of view of the daughter. How does the daughter feel in this video? What are your insights? It's like what can you say?
She's very focused on her goals.
On her goals. Frustrated and motivated. She seems to feel misunderstood. Correct? Now, if we now try to see the point of view or the way of thinking of the mom, what did you notice? And also, she may feel comfortable with herself and willing to talk with parents. Good. How about the mom?
I think the mom felt maybe a little bit abandoned, would feel abandoned because she doesn't quite understand the steps that the daughter's taking to try. But after the daughter explained everything, I think the mother became more and more comfortable as more information that she got from her daughter explaining.
Exactly. Then Lupe say protective, but somehow, sorry, I missed it. Willing to listen, right? And then it's like, yeah, that's right. It's like you, as a parent, you don't have a say in some things that you don't know, right? Then when the daughter start explaining and the mom start feeling like like she understand what is happening, at the end she provide the support that the daughter was wanting or looking for, right? I don't know, for you who have been working with Latino families, you can resonate with this telenovela, that a lot of the things that happen on the family dynamic are around the knowledge that everyone has, right? Then if you as a parent don't know the system, don't know how things work, you don't gonna have the tools to support your kid, right? But once you start understanding even the vocabulary, like GPA, like a community college, university, and then degrees, right? Then all this vocabulary is presented in a way that the families and parents can understand and just getting more knowledge of. And then you provide the environment for youth and parents to be able to share and have conversations on it, right? But this is a really nice way in how many new things you saw that parents may learn just from watching the video. You can mention some.
I think where she showed the pyramid, I think I'm a visual learner, so as she's talking, I'm relating to what she's saying. I feel like she was playing my role growing up, but I felt that explaining that visually, I thought that was great. So.
Yeah, and say difference between university and community college. Then also exactly right, like well, this is community college, this is where I'm right now, this is what I need, but then this is what is next, right? And she also talked about GPA, right? Then you cap the attention of families and they learn a lot just for this small piece. Great, thank you. Some other activities that we use, it's making a plan, and for families, you know, we are, as an educators, we are really good about talking about, oh, smart goals, right? And you lay down all these things that you do to have a smart goal. Families know how to plan, and families know how to get to the goal, right? But it's not so systematic. But if you ask them to plan a family trip or a quinceañera party, they are all over and they will do that, right? Once you have that example done and you translate or transfer the same information or the same things you did to plan for college, it really clicks to them and it's like, oh yes, we can do this. It's just a matter of thinking about and knowing what are the things that I'm gonna do or I'm gonna need, and start to thinking about how they're gonna make this happen. Okay.
And so what Rosa just mentioned about planning special events, and the telenovela and then the loteria and the dicho. So every session has a dicho. And with the dicho, the first half hour of the session, we join around food. And every table, they sit as family with the dicho, and it's in Spanish on one side, English on the other side. And then we ask parents and kids to talk about the dicho with each other about what it means. And then excuse me, each dicho relates then to the topic of the session that night. So we intentionally, as we develop this program, try to identify learning activities that families would resonate with because they've been part of their experience. So many families, parents may be familiar with a phrase, or as was mentioned, a telenovela. So trying to meet people where they're at, build upon their past experiences, learn from them, and then help learn a little bit more. And then as Rosa mentioned, there's a lot of reflection. So the other thing is the series is very highly interacted. There's very little time where we're just talking to youth or families. We might present some key ideals or engage them in a video, etc. But then they're doing together. Once again, youth, and we separated youth and parents and then bring them back together after they have their meal, the first half hour. Because developmentally, some of the topics, how we would address them with youth would be different than how we would address with parents, but it's the same topic. Especially when we talk about finances and opportunities, how do you financially support higher education, how we might talk with a youth about that would be very different than a parent. And then when we bring them back together. So in Iowa, we have spent intentional time building partnerships internally within Extension and externally. And it's through these community-based partnerships that we've been able to grow Salir Adelante and sustain it. And so we've trained about 19 different teams of communities that there has to be someone in extension who's going to be the glue that keeps us together. We call them the coordinator. But then they work with other extension staff that serve that county or a local county educator and other organizations in the community that has similar goals. So we talk a lot about aligning goals. And so when we think about what Salir Adelante is about, helping families move forward, thrive, helping youth move forward in education, then we think about who else in extension, as well as outside of extension, might have a similar goal. And then we intentionally start having those conversations. And so in Iowa, we've done a lot of work with building relationships between human sciences and 4-H. And so many of our communities, the coordinator is either a human science person or a 4-H youth development staff person, or they're doing it together, or it may be a county director or another county educator in that community, in extension, that serves as a coordinator. But then we try to pull different people in that help to think of as a broad team. How do we make it happen here? Who will facilitate? How do we get resources to offer childcare, or we for early learning? So we try not to just provide childcare, but provide opportunity to do some educational activities with the younger youth, etc. So once again, we've been focusing on the internal relationships, which takes time, as many of you know, but it's grown. It's really been really helpful because we've been able to sustain it in many communities, and they find their own funding for it. And then externally, as you can see, the school is naturally has aligned goals as what Salir Adelante is about. And so we reach out to the school. Many times schools are very close partners with letting, some school staff become trained in Salir Adelante and help co-facilitate, or they come trained so they know more about it, so they can help recruit families to it. Migrant education school, community colleges, and a couple of our communities, the community college is a very strong player. In one community, the community college extension and the school district each put in a third of funding, and that helps to support a local coordinator who helps to pull together Salir Adelante and all the partners from that. LULAC, Latino Family Resource Centers, United Way in Ames, Story County. United Way has been a huge partner as part of the planning team, because they see it aligned with what they're doing with the local college access networks. They've actually pulled in a lot of other partners to be part of Salir Adelante locally here in Ames, and also funding. The media, newspapers, radios, etc., and then workforce development. In Iowa for the last probably 5 years, there's big emphasis on what we call Future Ready Iowa. So trying to partner with them, but also Gear Up. And many of you may be familiar with the Gear Up grants, the National Gear Up program. And so we've been working with Gear Up in Iowa as well in our local communities to see aligned goals there. And the National Extension Foundation, we applied for and received a grant, trying to think of the exact title, but it was a $10,000 grant. And we particularly focused that grant to be building. The focus was doing activities would help us build our internal relationships with an extension. So our own staff who serve our county, having conversations and aligning their goals in their work. And then also externally with partnerships. So the Extension Foundation's been helpful for us thinking through that. We've have our monthly meetings with the Extension Foundation with our coach, and then some of the catalysts where we share what we're doing. They give us feedback, help us problem solving on different things. With marketing, help us develop what they call a case statement, which was really a 2-pager that speaks to what Salir Adelante, its goals, but its outcomes. What are the actual outcomes that are happening through it? And then we have a flipping book with the foundation does that with many of the projects that they support, where you can learn more about Salir Adelante. So you can learn more about it through the National Extension Foundation. And then resources. So in our grant, we particularly put some time on Rose's time and Victor's time. Both are very connected to the Latino communities throughout Iowa, but to work with me really closely to think about what are some of those external partnerships that if we put dedicated time into and had conversations with, we can align our goals. So like even the community college system throughout Iowa. And then evaluation. So I mentioned ripple effects mapping earlier. We'll be doing that later this spring to measure those broader outcomes and what we've been able to measure through pre and post surveys, and then leadership training to improve the health of our team that Carl Bradley, who's a leadership development specialist with Extension Foundation, the Salir Adelante, we have a work team, and then the coordinators, so maybe about 20 people. We've been doing these monthly leadership sessions on trust, on a whole variety of topics that have to do with leadership. And then that's really helped us, not just as a team, reflect on it for Salir Adelante, but for all the extension staff who participated, helped them think about, even in their other roles in extension, what is a healthy team? Because healthy teams are critical to helping programming grow, but be sustainable. So at this point, we're going to see if you have any questions that Rose and I can respond to, or maybe there's things you want to share with each other related to the topic of, around Salir Adelante.
At the beginning of the session, Lupe had a question that we mentioned Juntos, and how does Juntos is differs from other, or Salir Adelante, right? That maybe just other than just the funding source. Then do you want to talk a little bit about that?
Yeah, so I typed some things in the chat on that. So we previously offered Juntos here in Iowa, had really good success with it. And then we would do our evaluations with families, and then we did focus group and individual interviews. And we learned some things that families did not want to stay as family throughout Juntos, because they wanted to be family and come as family, but they also sometimes parents just wanted to talk to other parents about things, and youth just wanted to talk to them amongst youth. And also that sometimes some of the topics of how it was presented with parents, youth were getting a little bit bored. And a part of it's just development. And so some of the ways that it's definitely different, as I mentioned, in the beginning, we come together for a half an hour, and it's not just food. Food is substance, but it's more food is meaning, and it's community building. So through the DCHO, we really focus in on that. Each session has a DCHO. So we have these different culturally really relevant activities that were developed that the families respond to, because it's been part of their experiences. And then we also have divided up youth and parents, and then we bring them back together as family, because everything is very intentional. Like when we talk about values and goals shape our future. So we have some different topics that we address that Juntos doesn't address. And part of it's coming from a human development, family development perspective, that really trying to pull from parents and youth's experiences. So like parents, we spend a lot of time about their own experiences growing up and what was education like for them, because our experiences shape our attitudes, our behaviors, etc. So we like I said, we have a whole session on how values shape our future, and we address that topic with youth a little bit differently than parents. But then when they come together as family, we have some intentional activities and discussion where parents are able to share with their kids around values, and kids share with their parents, because the end goal is that parents and kids are working together towards similar things. Throughout this series, we have activities, once again, where kids are learning a lot about their parents, what their parents want for them, and parents are learning what kids want for themselves. So I would say there's more intentional conversation and activities that build upon past experiences and move forward. And then also we have different topic areas and built in the activities that resonate with the youth and families because of their experiences. And we also, in one of our sessions, trying to think how we describe it, responding to difficult situations. So in that session, we really talk about the realities. What do kids and parents experience around education and in the classroom and in the community? And when a youth feels like they're not being treated fairly, or a parent may feel like they're not being treated fairly, maybe it's on the job, but we have intentional activity to talk about those things in a safe way that people can bring their experiences to them. And then we talk about, okay, so what can we do? What are ways we can respond that are going to help us move forward? And we talk about different options. There's the aggressive response, the passive response, the assertive response, but we have very good conversations around those. So hopefully that helps to give you a bit of a flavor. Both great programs. We just, in Iowa, like just an extension, we continue to try to create programs that we think are going to best help meet the needs of families in our community. Other questions or comments or reflections that any of you might have, or how this may even resonate with programming that you are doing, are things that you think would be helpful that we can learn from you.
I have a question, and I may have missed it. I'm sorry, but who is doing the facilitating of Salir Adelante? Is it just ISU folks, or are you training community members also to be facilitators?
We have a whole range of people. We do have extension staff who facilitate, but it's always in partnership with the local community. And so, Rosa, you've had a team of probably, would you say 7 or 8 different people over time who've been trained as, community members, whether they're from the school or other organizations. And Rosa is bilingual. And so Rosa will facilitate, because we typically do the parent sessions in Spanish because that's what the parents want, but we'll do Spanish or English. And then the youth sessions are typically in English, but sometimes where we have youth who they don't know English very well, then we'll have facilitators that can speak Spanish as well. So it's both, Jill, but I would say we don't have any sites where it's just extension staff doing it, because the way it's designed is these are community teams. So extension needs to be engaged locally. And the spirit behind that is this aligns with what the mission of the institution's about. And it aligns with our strategic vision, plans, etc. And it's youth and families coming together. So it's perfect for 4-H and human sciences to work together on this. And sometimes community economic development will get involved maybe in some more peripheral ways than actual facilitation. But yes, many people in the community are the facilitators. And sometimes the extension staff is coordinating in the sense of they brought the team together, they help the team plan, and they're there so they can build relationships with families. But the community, whether it's someone from the school or a Latino Family Resource Center or the adult volunteer who just really cares and wants to be engaged, they're the facilitators. So hopefully that probably exhausted a response to your short answer, Jill.
That was great. Thank you. Thanks.
Other questions that people might have, or comments or reflections? And then there was a question about, can it be implemented in another state? We're working towards that. When we developed the curriculum, we started developing it in 2018. And then in 2019, we piloted it in 3 different communities in Iowa. And it took about a year to take, back from the pilot to refine it. And then we've been focusing the last 4 years. And of course, we had the pandemic, right? So that had a little pause there. But we wanted to really get it up and running in Iowa and getting it solidified. And we're now at the point that over the next year, we're going to be making some plans of how might we be able to start making the program available to other communities outside of Iowa who this may be helpful for their community. So stay tuned, and or if that's something you'd be interested in, please reach back to Rosa and I later, because we just need to logistically figure out how to do that. That would work best for everybody all around and make it feasible for other states.
Kimberly and Rosa, as it seems like a lot of people may be interested in, how you're going to expand. So should we keep an eye on your website for announcements on the curriculum being posted, or reach out to you?
Or certainly reach out to Rosa or the website or the Extension Foundation, because Iowa State's now a member of the Extension Foundation. And I think as we just have to logistically, it's more of a logistical thing to figure out what's most feasible to do that. We'll probably be, once we have a plan figured out, we'll probably be announcing it, like in the Extension Foundation, or certainly other contacts I have of state specialists in family well-being, the area that I'm at, I may reach out to different people and let them know. But yeah.
Okay, so just keep your eyes out for that announcement. Okay, thank you.
Yeah.
There's a question from Maria in the chat.
Okay.
She's asking, she's wondering what the recruitment of families looks like.
Sure. So I can share, but I'm going to ask Rosa, because Rosa has implemented the program directly in different Iowa communities. So Rosa, maybe you can share from some of your experiences in Crawford County or Dallas or Des Moines.
Yes. This is one of the parts that really working with community members make a difference, right? We as an extension professionals, that we are not necessarily working all the time in one community. We don't know what happened, right? But that's why working with partners, it's really helpful, because they are the ones, especially like working in the school, with the school, right? Because they know the students, they know the families, and knowing that this program really is gonna help with many of the goals that the school have for the students, they are really willing to support. Then it's like a working with those community partners that can help you to reach out to families. We have done many different things, like pretty much reaching out individually to families, then making the effort to be there for parent-teaching conferences. In some cases, we do offer like a pre-type of session in which we can reach out as many families possible and explain what it's Salir Adelante about, have like a mini session where they can experience some of the activities. And more than anything, for them to be aware that this is a commitment of 6 weeks and that every week you're going to learn something new, right? But families, once they know and understand, they are really willing to participate and enroll. If you, as many other things, if you keep the consistency, then families are going to find out about the program, and every year or every cycle that you do is going to become easier, right? Because word of mouth works really well. But I will say that you really need to collaborate with the people that know your community, know the families, know what's happening.
And we've found too, families recruit other families. And we've had families who will go through twice, because they'll go through with one child and then decide that they're going to go through with their other child. And so, yeah, I guess certainly our extension staff have connections, direct connections to families, but it's really through these community teams and the partners who are already directly working with families. And they help recruit because they see it as helping their organization meet their goals. So it's really trying to work in a community with others around something we all care about. And so when you have partners really trying to think through who else in the community cares about this topic. And if extension can be the catalyst that brings them together, it flows really well. And then, and like I said, Jill, sometimes, our extension staff facilitate, and sometimes they're simply coordinating. And then in 4-H, it's been a wonderful way for the 4-H program to help families learn about 4-H, and not just the club. It's more about 4-H and opportunities for kids and leadership opportunities, etc. And that's how we really approach it, that we do build in where we want them to learn about 4-H, but that in some communities, and eventually, like the youth may start coming to one of the leadership groups, like a leadership retreat or what have you. And then some of them decide that they want to join a 4-H club, or they want to make their own 4-H club based on what they're interested on. So we see a lot of really positive opportunities for the resources Extension has to try to engage families in these resources, but do it in a way that is meaningful for them, that is helping them reach their goals. Well, we certainly have appreciated you all for taking your time to join us today, and would be more than happy if anybody wants to, follow up or visit, another time. That would be wonderful. Or if you have programming or information that you think could really help us here in Iowa, Rose and I would both be really excited and interested to hear from you. So thank you.
Yes, and just to piggyback on that, I will be sending out the presentation and along with their contact information so everyone here can stay in touch and ask further questions. But thank you all for joining us today, and have a great rest of your Monday.
Yeah.